Hello everyone, welcome back. We're on the 5th lesson of our unit, and today we're talking about multiplication and division sequences. So today you're going to work on finding the multiplier in a multiplication equation and the divisor in a division equation. And you'll also extend multiplication and division sequences. So looking at this first slide here, it asks us what number does the question mark represent? So we can see the question mark right here. And what number does that represent? One way we can find it is to skip count by 4s until we get to 12. So if we're skip counting by 4s, we've got 4, 8, 12. So we've held up 3 fingers, so we know that that question mark represents the number 3. Notice here that the answer to our multiplication question is called the product. These are terms that you're going to be expected to know. And what we found, the number 3, is called the multiplier. That is the number that we are multiplying by. All right, so this number is the multiplier. And it doesn't have a place for this on the lesson, but we're calling this one the multiplicand. So we've got the multiplicand, the multiplier, and the product. Those are terms you're going to be expected to know, so if you're not sure what they are, write them down in your notebook somewhere. Just pause the video, write it down so that you can keep track of those. Now here, it's asking us again to skip count to find the multiplier. Remember, the multiplier is the second number. So when we skip count by 5s, we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 35. We've got 7 fingers up, so the number there, the multiplier, must be the number 7. We know 5 times 7 is 35. So now think about, why did you stop at 35? Because that's the product, right? That's the answer to our multiplication question. And why did you skip count by 5s? Because 5 is the multiplicand. It's the number that we are multiplying. Okay, let's look at this. Now we're going to put our multiplication into a sequence. So what is the multiplier between these two numbers? We already figured this out before on our second slide there. Between 4 and 12, we know that there's 3 space. 4 times 3 will be 12. Now, you can see we have other lines here. We've got 2 more lines to keep this sequence going. What would we have to do up here if we wanted to keep the sequence going? Well, we have to keep the same space in between these numbers and in between these numbers. So we'd have to multiply this by 3. So 12 times 3, let's see if we can figure that out. We'll do it this way. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. So our next number would be 36. You can see how our numbers get bigger quite quickly when we're doing this. So the space in between, again, our multiplier is 3. Now we're going to take 36 and multiply it by 3. 3 times 6 is 18, so we put the 1 up there, bring the 8 down here. 3 times 3 is 9, and 1 more is 10. So again, you can see how it gets really big really fast, right? Because our next number is 108. Now we're looking at division here. In this one, what does the question mark represent? What number would we put there for the question mark? Well, if you know that division is the opposite of multiplication, we already did this, right? So we can do this again. If we've got 3 here, we can skip count by 3s until we hit 12. So let's try it. 3, 6, 9, 12. And how many fingers are standing up? There's 4. So we know that the question mark represents 4. Now notice that the 3 is the quotient. So a quotient is the answer to a division question. And the 4, where the question mark was, we call that the divisor. The number that we are dividing by is the divisor. And this one, even though they don't say it, is the dividend. Again, if you don't know those, pause the video, write them down in your notebook so that you can keep it straight, because you need to know those terms. Here's a different question a little bit. Skip count to find the divisor. So what will we skip count by? That's right, we skip count by 5 until we get to 35. So let's try it. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 35. And how many fingers are up? Yep, 7. Good. So the divisor here is 7. The number we divide by is the divisor. The dividend is the number that's being divided, and the quotient is the answer. So why did we stop at 35? Because that's the total amount that we have here, right? That's the number that the dividend is, the number that we are dividing, putting into groups. And why did we skip count by 5s? Because that's what our quotient is. Those are the two numbers that were given, so that's what we have to work with. Okay, here's another sequence. So what number do we divide 16 by to get 8? Remember, the number that we divide by is the divisor. And if we start with 16, that's the dividend. The quotient will be 8. So thinking about this, 16 divided by 8, we know that we will divide by 2 to get that. So if we want to write 2 more terms for the pattern, the terms are each of these numbers here, remember? So if we want 2 more terms, then we need to take 8 and divide that by 2 as well. And we know 8 divided by 2 will give us 4. And then 4 divided by 2 will give us 2. So there is our sequence, or our pattern, or all the terms for this pattern. Those all mean the same thing. So we call this a division sequence. Okay, so this is a division sequence because we use division to figure out all the terms in this pattern. This one here is just one more example. What's the divisor between these numbers? Remember, the divisor is the number we are dividing by. Well, we can think of it the other way, right? What times 9 will give us 27? We know it's 3. So 27 divided by 3 is 9. And if you don't know your division yet, if you're not sure about your multiplication facts, just keep working on them. And by the end of the year, you'll have them. So then from here, we know we want to continue the sequence, extend the sequence to 4 terms. So here we've got term number 1, term number 2, here's term 3, and term 4. So to find our third term, we would divide by 3 again. And I put it in the circle to show that it's not part of the sequence, but it's what we're doing to the sequence to get the next term. So 9 divided by 3 will be 3. And then we're going to divide by 3 one more time. 3 divided by 3 will be 1. So the first term is 27. The second term is 9. The third term is 3. And the fourth term is 1. So there we go. There's our multiplication and division sequences. So now you should be able to do pages 11 and 12 in your practice book. And remember, if you have any issues, any questions, any problems with this, then make sure that you contact me either through Schoology or through email. There's lots of ways to get a hold of me, and I'm almost always available. All right. Bye.